is Business Rockstars.
On today's show, changing your mindset could be what's standing between you and success. Coming up, we'll address how to fix 7 fatal flaws when it comes to the way you think. And also, should your audience be your shareholders? We'll discuss the pros and cons of equity crowdfunding. I'm Ken Rakowski, and you are watching and listening to Business Rockstars. We're connecting you to a world of entrepreneurs on radio, TV, and online. See what's happening in the studio right now by going to businessrockstars.com. We're streaming the show live so you can see what's happening. We got some cool things going on where you do want to watch it also. And of course, all of our radio affiliates across the United States and Canada, thanks a lot for contributing and being part of the show. We understand this whole concept of entrepreneurship is exploding, and the radio station you're listening to right now, they support you because they're a great voice to what you're doing. So make sure you connect with the radio station you're listening to because they want to support you as an entrepreneur. So like I said, today we'll be looking at what's going on when it comes to the flaws you have inside you and changing them so they become strengths. And did you know last week, equity crowdfunding really took off because now you as a storekeeper could put your company up on what it looks like a public market. You can almost do like a miniature IPO, and we'll find out what's going on with that. Lots happening. Okay, so I know this guy named Keith Ferrazzi. I've known Keith for a few years. Keith has written a few great books. He was also one of the youngest individuals to ever run Starwood. You know Starwood, the hotel loyalty environment. Keith Ferrazzi travels the country talking about what it takes to build a great culture, how to make sure you are always in the now by knowing what's going on. You've probably seen a few of his books. One is Who's Got Your Back? The other one is Never Eat Lunch Alone. Well, Keith here talks about what it takes to believe in people and in their jobs.
In retrospect, in my life, I spent way too much time early on as an entrepreneur pushing, selling, as opposed to generously serving. And once I started to generously serve, my product got better. So even in that area of professional currency, people who believe that their job is to sell stuff versus serve a community actually don't do as well.
It's true. You know, the idea you got a product and you have a service. Have you ever bought a Lexus? Buying a Lexus, sure, the product is great, but the service is amazing, or a BMW or a Mercedes, or you go to Nordstrom's, or you go to Ritz-Carlton. The product is almost the same as what everybody else has. It's what the service is on the other side. It's what transforms a customer into a loyal customer, into somebody that uses word of mouth to recommend you as a business over and over again. Great service is a key. And what Keith realized was it's not just about selling a product or service, it's about servicing the product and service, making sure that there's a value around the service. And that's probably it. Let's talk about how to actually create value-driven companies around a culture that really supports a value-driven company. Does that make sense? I mentioned a few names earlier. Lexus, Ritz-Carlton, Nordstrom's. There is a service side to their business, and the culture really sparks it. When you go to a Ritz-Carlton, you go into an environment where, sure, there's a whole bunch of hotels everywhere else. You go to an Airbnb or whatever it is, but Ritz-Carlton wants to make sure you feel like you're at your second home, your better second home. That looks even better than your first home. They want to treat you like you're royalty in some ways. The culture makes it happen because the people that work there are in it. They want you to feel like you are special and royalty. That doesn't come naturally. That type of culture you have to create. So how do you create a Ritz-Carlton or a Nordstrom or a Lexus culture inside your business? How do you do that? I got 5 ways for you to do it. 5 ways. One is you got to turn your personal values into shared values. Because let's face it, if you own the business and you know exactly what you want the customer to feel, because you do it, you reach out and you make sure the customer feels like they feel like royalty. They feel like they're always number one. Well, if you can do it as the business owner, how do you get your team to do it also? Well, the way to do that is you have to turn your personal values into shared values. You have to get your team to realize why it's so important for the people that you're selling something to feel like they're number one. They have to understand it. They have to feel it. They have to say, I get it, and I could tangibly do this myself. But you have to make sure your values are their values. Microsoft went through this whole process when Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer, they realized that their values of what they did when they started Microsoft was not the same as the companies that were working at Microsoft. So what they did is they broke Microsoft up into smaller, different divisions, and they teached core values, their personal values, to those teams. And then this is where you see Microsoft Windows come from. Yeah, believe it or not, Microsoft didn't start with Microsoft Windows. There was other tool sets that were out there. Microsoft realized that by creating the shared value structure, everybody felt like the customer was number one. But it took them to break the company up a little to make it happen. Another way to do this is you got to treat the employees like owners. See, what happens is with owners, it's performance metrics now, meaning, hey, if we treat the customer really well, they're going to buy from us more often. They're going to suggest us and recommend us to other people. And all of a sudden, our shared value, being share values, go up, meaning our value in our company goes up. When we're like shareholders, we own part of the company. So when we do good, our company does good. And since we all are owners of the company, we do good too. It's a win-win-win. You have to also make sure, because we're going through 5 ways to really instill a culture of value. Another way of doing it is this. Encourage time for creativity. I love the whole 20% concept that Google does, or the 15% concept that 3M does. And that is, the people that work there take 15 to 20% of their time every single week to do something that's outside the job they were hired for. This is where things like Google Earth came from inside Google. This is where different cool concepts inside 3M came from that weren't part of the company's roadmap, because they allowed creativity added to the company's value, added to the company's underlying value, because they really wanted people to be creative. And they also tell the people, number 4, is you got to make an impact, make a difference. You want to work for us? That's great. But you want to take this business to a whole new level, make a difference, make an impact. It could be something that's small. You know, maybe there's just one person on your team that's all around the idea of miniature celebrations. Find out what's going on when it comes to birthdays and anniversaries and things we should celebrate. Bring the joy into the business. There's an impact point. Or someone on the other side that says, hey, you are all about finding causes that we need to be connected to. But make your team feel like they're impactful by giving them that ability to make an impact. That's number 4. Number 5 is the values that I talked about at the very beginning. Like, for example, you know what customer service should be because you provide it, and then you have to make sure your team understands that customer service. You better embody it yourself too. Meaning, you got to walk the walk, talk the talk. You know, I've met too many business owners that got tired, old, and they forgot what their core values were when it came to their business. They just forgot, or they got lazy. I love going on trips with my kids. Let me explain why. I may have already been there before, maybe hundreds of times to wherever I'm taking it, but through their eyes, I see it differently. I see it brand new. And often what happens is when we get into a pattern of consistency and predictability and seeing things over and over again, we forget why we do things. And when you see what the vision you gave your team, your employees, sometimes you have to sit back and start seeing your company through their eyes again. See that spark that you taught them years ago, months ago. Because you have to embody the values that you taught everybody, and you have to come back to them over and over again and touch them on a regular basis. What's your favorite brand? Pick one. You like Tesla? Have you checked out Tesla? I don't care if you're not buying a Tesla. I want you to walk into a Tesla dealership. I want you to see what that service is, that value proposition is. I want you to walk in the Apple store. You know one thing you don't see inside an Apple store? Cash registers. You don't see a cash register anywhere in an Apple store because they don't want you to be thinking about, oh, where do I go to buy it? Because they want you to be able to buy it everywhere. Everyone's a cash register that works there. They preach the value of whatever you see, whatever you want, will show you why you need to have it. Smart move. So when we come back, very interesting individual that's all around the idea of looking at some of the fatal flaws of thinking you have and how we fix them. Sound good? I'm up for that too. And then later on, put your company on the IPO list, doing a miniature IPO around equity crowdfunding. I like all that too. Lots happening. You're going to be sticking around, right? Of course you are. You're listening and watching Business Rockstars. We'll be right back.
This is Business Rockstars.
Welcome back to Business Rockstars. I'm Ken Rakowski, connecting you to a world of entrepreneurs on radio, TV, and online. Of course, if you miss anything regarding the show, just go to our website, businessrockstars.com. Joining me in the studio, winning the brain game. You like to go as Matt, but it says Matthew Ime on here. There's another Matthew out there, right?
There is, so we're not going to talk about him.
He's got a book out too, right?
No.
He's got a book. Your book. Hey, first thing is, anything around the word brain is wickedly hot right now.
It is.
It is, right?
And especially the intersection between the brain and business, which is where this lies.
So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we figured out every muscle in the body. We know how to get our bicep, our tricep, our lats. We know how to work those out. The brain is still kind of like, we're still trying to figure out the hidden secrets.
We are. The funny thing is that 20 years ago, if you and I had this conversation, it would be completely different, because 20 years ago we thought that the brain as a muscle controlled our thinking process completely.
Okay.
That's been reversed. So the way we think now can actually rewire the physical part of our brain. So it's like the brain is the hardware, the mind is the software, but it's not just any software, it's software that can actually rewire and change the hardware. It's called neuroplasticity. It reverses years
It's like
of
a
medical
software
development.
upgrade.
Yeah.
So how often do you upgrade yourself?
As often as I can.
But is it something that you're doing by knowing you're doing it, or are you doing things within your environment that force it to happen?
I'm conscious of the fact that my brain wants to do the laziest thing possible.
Okay.
Because it doesn't like to work hard. It takes a lot of mental energy. It wants to go quick. It wants to move fast. It wants a workaround solution. So I'm constantly conscious of what my brain is doing to actually work against me, and I use my mind and some tricks that I've learned over the last 10 years working with lots of people to change that.
Oh, and you're going to teach us some of those too,
So
I think,
I
right?
am.
Do you do anything around the nootropics or the brain pills? Do you do any of those things?
No. As a matter of fact, I've worked with a neuroscientist who works with patients here in Los Angeles that have the most debilitative brain disease possible, disorder. It's OCD. And he doesn't use any kind of medication, drugs, or anything. He teaches them to think differently about the problem, and that rewires their brain, and they can get rid of OCD by thinking differently. So it's the old Steve Jobs, think different, good things happen.
It's true.
It's true.
What made you want to do? Now you're a writer. You write all over the place. I mean, we probably read you often in magazines and online. Okay, why this book? What led you to this?
It almost wasn't. It almost wasn't. I had decided that you know, the attention spans being what they are, 140 characters seems to be the bandwidth.
That's it, right?
Yeah. So do people read books anymore? And people convinced me that what they had been going through in workshops and seminars and speeches was worth putting out there in a written form, but in a form that's short, small, fast, and technique-laden.
Yeah, that's what you have. The book is not War and Peace.
Nope.
It's, let's see how much you know your own book. How many pages is it?
I believe it's 208.
Let's see, it is, so maybe.
But they're small pages.
Maybe it's 186, but that, or 189, but 208, there's a few missing right here.
There are a couple in the back. So.
And right now the book, Amazon.com?
Yep.
Go
Just came out.
on your site too?
Yep.
To pick it up?
MatthewEmay.com.
That's where you go. So what certain things did you discover while writing it that you can teach us to enhance our brain capability or to fix the flaws that we currently have that we walk around with every day?
There are 7 of them. There are 7 flaws and 7 fixes, and they're time tested over the course of about 10 years.
Okay.
So backstory very quickly is that I was working with the corporate university of Toyota, University of Toyota, back in 2005. And we designed a problem-solving course for all the associates working at Toyota, and we had a little icebreaker exercise to get people's sort of right brain going. And it was nothing more than an icebreaker, but as we started teaching more people this course, we started seeing the same kinds of behaviors over and over and over again.
Okay.
And I've been doing it. I stopped working with Toyota 10 years ago. I kept the exercises, and I've been doing it with all size businesses, audiences, speeches, workshops, and these patterns remain.
Okay, can we do any of these on a conversational level, or are they all
Sure.
physical?
No, one is physical, and
Can we do that one later on?
Yeah, we can do that
We'll
one later
actually
on.
bring in another person too, the next guest too.
That'd be perfect.
And the 3 of us will go through the physical one, but let's talk about some people on radio can understand.
Okay.
What would be a brain training step that we could go through to fix us?
Well, I like to work, I'm not like a psychologist who likes to come up with these crazy logic exercises.
do that.
And so this is based on the exercise, the thought challenge I'm about to give you is based on a real world business challenge.
Okay.
Not anywhere near as complex as the stuff your audience faces every day.
Sound good.
But I'm going to put you in a box to think about the solution. So
Matt
here's the
May is
case.
joining us right now. The book is called Winning the Brain Game. We're going to go for it. Ready? I'm ready.
Okay, so imagine that you manage a luxury health club
Got it.
here in Los Angeles.
Equinox.
There you go. We won't mention any names. Though.
I was just there. Hey, Equinox. Okay, go ahead.
And in this luxury, very upscale clientele, in this health club, there are 40 shower stalls, 20 for men, 20 for women. In that shower stall is a freestanding, full-size bottle of salon-level shampoo. Now, that doesn't mean much to you and me, but to the women in the audience,
Big deal.
that's like a $75
You got good
bottle of
hair, so
shampoo.
it means something to you too. You got good hair. Go ahead.
You can't get it unless you're a licensed cosmetologist. And the patrons love it.
Okay.
We sell it at the front. It's freestanding in each stall. The problem is we have a 33% theft rate. People are putting this in their gym bag and walking off with it. We've tried a number of things. We've tried putting up reminders. We've tried penalizing people. We do sell it at the front, constantly reminding people. Nothing seems to move the number. And you and I manage the health club, but we're not smart enough to solve the problem. We're going to let our employees do it. But there's some goals. Low or no cost. 0 would be great. We've spent a lot of money trying to fix this problem. We don't want to incur any more burden on our patrons. No interruption of the normal operation of health club, and you can't change the offering. No,
Got it.
You can't. It's a free. It has to be a
I got
freestanding
it.
full bottle of shampoo. What's the solution? I give people.
When you
5
say
or 10 ideas.
freestanding, you're saying the bottle by itself is just sitting there. There's no,
yeah.
there's nothing around
As
the
if
bottle.
it's in your own home. That's part of
Okay.
the appeal.
So
right?
you're telling me there's no dispenser around that shampoo.
Right.
Wow. I would put, and they're stealing the actual bottle,
Yeah, they're
not
putting
the
the bottle.
liquid itself.
No, the bottle. It's a very attractive bottle. They know they can't get it. It's something that a third of our population, of our patrons,
Are
seems
going
to
to
have
steal
no
it.
problem. Even though they're luxury clients, it's maybe whether they feel that they're entitled to it.
You know, what's the answer? Got about a minute. Come on.
Well, the answer is what the health club did actually in real life was they simply removed the tops of the shampoo bottles.
That's it. That's so
Elegant
simple.
solution. A lot of people argue, well,
Yeah,
that's
but then
not a
the
great
water's going to
solution,
get inside there.
Yeah,
and-
there's a lot of buts, but
That's what I was-
But it eliminated theft right away.
because they couldn't take it home.
They couldn't take it home.
They would actually have brought smaller bottles and filled it up. I'm just letting you know.
But they weren't that dishonest. It was the accessibility and the ease. So, but what happens is people come up with all kinds of complex solutions. So that's the
love it.
thought challenge.
So the book is called Winning the Brain Game.
Yep.
And when we come back, what we're going to do, Matt, is you're going to do something physical with us.
Sure.
That is a brain test also, okay? Find out more. You don't want to go away. Ken Rakowski connecting you to a world of entrepreneurs right here on Business Rockstars.
is Business Rockstars.
Hi, it's Ken Rakowski, Business Rockstars. Welcome back as we're connecting you to a world of entrepreneurs, radio, TV, and online. See what's happening in the studio. A little later on in this segment, we're going to go through a physical project to show how ridiculous I am, and also a friend of mine at the same time, but you don't want to miss that. Matthew May is joining us. He likes to be referred to as Matt, and his book, of course, is called Winning the Brain Game, which you can go find at bookshelves. Is it on physical bookshelves?
It will be, yeah.
Yeah, what's that like?
Always fun.
When you
Always
go-
fun to see.
especially-
Although, when was the last time you were in a bookstore?
3 days ago.
Really good.
I like
Good for you.
bookstores. But I think the big deal now is being in the airport bookstore, right?
That's
As you're walking through the airport, you
Yep,
see the book and
yep,
that,
yep.
because everyone takes a picture of
Yep.
it, then sends
That's
it to the
a whole
author.
pay-to-play thing.
Is it
We're talking
really?
about- oh, yeah.
Are you going through that right now?
There's an investment required to do that.
I like
so.
how you just said that, an investment. Hey, it says fixing the 7 fatal flaws of thinking.
Correct.
What are the 7 flaws?
The first one is leaping.
What is leaping?
Leaping to conclusions, leaping to solutions. Whenever we're faced with a problem, the first thing we do is we throw out ideas and solutions. And we've been schooled to do that, right?
Yeah.
In school, you're given a test, you need the right answer, the one the teacher wants, and you've got a certain amount of time to do it. So the problem is that leaks over into our business, and when we've got a complex problem, we start leaping to solutions, and we, short sell our best thinking.
Leaping. What's a
Leaping.
quick fix?
Quick fix is what I call frame storming. Inserting a step that feels like brainstorming, but it's question storming. Tossing out lots of different questions, why, what if, how, then going into the ideation part.
Like Simon Sinek says, ask the why. The why.
Ask
You
the
go,
why.
go 3 whys down and
At
you'll find
least.
out.
At
Got
least.
it. What's another of the 7?
The second is fixation, which is my term for what psychologists call functional fixedness, which is we get into thinking traps, ruts, and it's very, very difficult to break out and go off-road with our thinking. Fixation is just that, the mental mindset, the bias, the assumptions that we make. That's flaw number 2.
How do we fix that one?
You play opposite day, just like Jerry Seinfeld did with George back in the day. Remember that
George
episode?
did exactly the opposite.
And good things happened. Right?
Great things did.
Yeah. And if you think about a lot of the businesses that we talk about now, Airbnb and Uber, they completely reverse the situation, right? So Airbnb has no hotels. They have no properties. Uber doesn't have a fleet.
And they're the most destructive companies on the planet.
Right. So you take the current situation and you play opposite day. What's the opposite of a hotel chain? A hotel chain with no hotels. Right? And that begins to get you thinking differently. So
We're going through the fixing the 7 flaws of us, how we think. We're on number 3 right now, which is overthinking.
Overthinking. It's the good old paralysis by analysis. We want perfection. We want all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed, and we actually end up oftentimes creating more problems than were there in the first place.
I want to know how you fix that one because I suffer from this on a regular basis.
Perhaps you heard of the lean startup
Of course.
movement, right? And that's sort of based on the good old Toyota scientific problem solving that really focuses on taking prototypes, very minimal prototypes, and testing them out very, very quickly. So overthinking is basically that. It's getting back in the habit of doing what we came into the world doing, which was experimenting and playing and coming up with fast, frugal experiments and learning from that rather than, here's my idea, let me build it out, let me add a lot of resources, and then, oh my gosh, it fails when we launch it.
Got it. 7 signs, 7 flaws. We just did leaping, fixation, overthinking. Next one.
The next one is satisficing, and that's not my word.
Is it a real word?
It's a real word. It's over 50 years old. Herbert Simon, Nobel laureate, came up with it in a book called Models of Man, 1957. It's suffice and satisfy. It's basically how we make most of our decisions. Get me to the 80% mark, and then I'll just sell the heck out of it. It's not the best solution, not the ideal solution, it's not elegant, but I've got a bias for optimism. I think I can push this through and make it work. Satisficing is one of the flaws.
If you watch the TV show Silicon Valley, there's a whole, the season is all around satisficing. That's what it is, the box.
Yep, the box.
Downgrading.
Downgrading is a close cousin to satisficing, but that's when you've got a stated goal and you're halfway into the project and you've decided that your eyes were bigger than your tummy and you formally back off the stated goal in order to declare victory. It's like preemptive surrender to declare victory.
And we
this
see this
happens
constantly.
a lot.
Yeah, constantly I see this.
Constantly.
Is that a bad thing?
It's a bad thing if it's preemptive. In other words, oh my gosh, we're not going to make that mark. Let's just call that 100%, 70%, and be done with it. Because then you're not thinking anymore. Then you're just, you're satisficing.
But Matt, isn't one of the biggest problems we think so audacious at times? We can't do it, but even hitting at 70% mark is an impressive mark?
If that's the one that you set out with to begin with. But, you watch, I'm sure you watch football, right?
Of course.
There's not a team in the world that can win a ball game by aiming for the 97-yard line. They may not, they may not make the touchdown
unless it's a safety. Oh.
But don't back off it right away. Don't give up right away. And the fix for this is what I call jump starting. So a lot of times we just plain lose energy, and there are ways to sort of jump start our thinking. One of the techniques that we used at Toyota was called can-if. When I've got a big idea and a big goal and I can't meet it, the normal thing for me to do is to say, well, we can't do that because. So it's a can't because. You switch that to, well, we can if. Then you begin to change the parameters and the constraints that you're in, and that actually produces more creative
In a lot of ways, it's just
thinking.
a different way of thinking. That's all it is.
It's
all
really
it is.
all it is.
We have 2 left. Number 6 is?
Not invented here.
Yeah, I've heard this one.
Yeah, this is, you go to the elevator, the light's already hit, and you hit it again. That's not brain damage. That's we don't trust other people's solutions.
That's right.
And more mature organizations are very guilty of this. But it's basically, if we didn't come up with the idea, it's not a good one.
I've just learned about this one .com company that's doing about $35 million in revenue a month. And the CEO does not want any code to be written by them. He wants it either taken from GitHub or from other sites, because if they write code, they're wasting time.
And that is the antidote to not invented here. That's called proudly found elsewhere. A.G. Lafley at Procter & Gamble came up with he mandated 50% of their innovation a decade ago, mandated that 50% of their innovation had to come from the outside. So that CEO is a smart thinker.
Real smart. Winning the brain game, and number 6 is?
I think we're on the last one there. We just did not invent, the 7th one, self-censoring. This is when we kill our idea before it's ever born.
Often. You probably did this with this book a few times, right?
Yeah, as I said, it almost wasn't, right? And that was my self-censoring flaw, which is nobody's going to read another book by Matt May. We're afraid of judgment, we're afraid of criticism, and we basically, I call it ideacide. It's when we've got a good idea and we're scared of the outcome, and so we back off it completely and it never gets born.
Because we see failure before success.
Yep.
And by taking these 7, making you aware of them, knowing your quick fixes, which are inside the book,
yes,
you reprogram your brain.
Yep, and that's the brain game. The brain game is the skirmish line of the brain game is between the brain, the physical part, and the conscious part, the mind. And you can actually rewire the brain by thinking different.
So I want to try something different. Our next guest who's going to be on after you is Vincent Bradley. And generally, he is there talking up a storm. I want to bring him in here, and he's going to talk very little, because you're going to have us do a project together. And you do this often. What are we doing? I have 2, let's just call them hand
They're handcuffs. They're rope handcuffs.
Rope handcuffs. And let's walk over here. Vin, are you around? Come on over here. Let's bring Vincent out. And we're going to give this to you. You're going to tell us what we're going to be doing with this. Hopefully people that are able to get online to businessrockstars.com, they can see what we're doing. If you're not online, we're going to explain to you what's happening. We're each holding a...
Vincent's going to put his handcuffs on.
So put one on each hand. There you go.
This is a 200-year-old exercise. You're going to put one on.
I got one on.
You're going to loop yourself with him.
All right.
And now here's the goal, and here's the constraint. The goal is to release yourself from the handcuffs without removing the handcuffs in any way. Can't untie them, can't swap them. They have to remain on the original hands right away.
You got it, because I've been thinking about this since we started. About 2 minutes to figure this out. I can't put you through here, because I've already tried that.
Yeah.
You want to see what happens?
It does.
Yeah, see what happened?
Go one more.
I know, I'm kidding.
But it doesn't really make sense.
We have a mic cable. Yeah, we can't do that because we have a mic cable there too. Now, you and I become even closer friends.
But even if I could get down.
No, but we still are right back to where we were.
Yeah. It doesn't.
Now, you do this with police officers and everything, right?
I do.
Is there a real solution?
There is a real solution.
I got to cut your arm off.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you a hint.
Let's get this
what is
card out of there.
Okay, right.
I'll let you do it one more time.
One more time. We
Because
get.
you've actually exhibited many of the flaws already, so don't fall.
Don't fall. Okay.
Well, at least we're back.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we're
here's,
back.
I'll give you a piece of information, see if this helps. You do not need to do any dance moves to solve this problem.
How's it? Really?
It can be solved face to face.
How? Okay, we're looking at this. We want to know.
That's the only way you can do it, Ken, is
No. What is it? Come on, Matt. Matt, you've got us looking like fools. Wait. So. Wait.
Pull your hand free.
Whoa! That was awesome.
that's kind of a. I like it, but it's kind of a cheat almost. Yeah.
It kind of was,
You
but we
didn't
didn't,
swap.
we didn't take it off.
You didn't swap.
We didn't take it off. There we go.
It didn't
I
didn't come
love
out.
this. Okay,
So let me-
Explain what happened there.
Yo.
Okay. So you basically manifested many of the 7 flaws. That's why I like this exercise, right? The first thing you did was start dancing. That's leaping. You didn't really think too hard about it. You went right to a solution, right? Now, when that didn't work, you did the second flaw, which is fixating. You did the same move in a slightly different way.
Did it again.
It really wasn't any different thing. And the whole notion of dancing is overthinking. Because I gave you a hint that you don't really need to do any dance moves, but you added all this, and you ended up being more tangled.
We were.
Right? Than you were. So those are sort of the big 3 there. And when I give you a piece of information, a hint, you actually did try dancing yet again.
We did
so
the
that's
same
sort
thing.
Of the, that's sort of
I
the
love this.
non-invented
Yeah.
here thing. So
That was great.
that's all of them.
You're going to do this one at the office now, aren't you?
You can keep the
where
handcuffs.
can I get these?
Yeah. These could be made
Yeah.
anywhere.
If I was smart, I should have packaged them with the book.
Sounds like we need to read the book.
Yeah.
Right?
The
Book right now
book
is
sounds
available.
awesome.
People want to find it. Where do they go?
Amazon.com.
Amazon.com. And the whole idea is this. You're going to reprogram your brain. Once you know how to do this, you owe it to Matt for helping you do that. Okay, when we come back, we're going to have Vincent join us. We'll be talking about what's going on with equity crowdfunding. It just became legal last week, and we'll find out exactly who this should be, and again, for at least. And also, Matt, thanks a lot for making us look like fools. We're here to connect you, of course, to everything that's going on when it comes to starting, growing, to funding your business. Business Rockstars is your one-stop shop for all of that, and we're here to help. When we come back, should you take your company kind of public? We'll find out more. Ken Rakowski connecting you to everything entrepreneur. We'll be right back.